Hey, I'm Joe Brown.
And I'm Robert Rushing.
And we're the Old Government Guys. Old Government Guys is a podcast where we seek to highlight ordinary feds who do extraordinary things and shed light on and recognize your friends, family, and neighbors who comprise the government workforce. Too often, their work goes unnoticed, and we want to put a face on the fellow feds and share with you their stories and accomplishments in a fun and respectful way.
Old Government Guy Robert here. Welcome to episode 7, where we will conclude our interview with Colonel Dean Hartman. And later, we'll revisit Mr. Ed Bakunas, who wants to tell a funny story from his time as the senior Air Force community planner. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe for the latest episodes, as we're starting to crank these out every 2 weeks. And be sure to tell a friend about the podcast. Thank you.
So I'd like to shift gears just a little bit and let's talk about some of the folks that you've come across in your career. You can start, and it's like, who helped shape your career?
Yeah.
Who did you run into? Like, gosh, I just can't believe that, there's such, good folks, or just run the spectrum. And yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say, starting early on, Doug Waggle's a good friend of mine. He got out as a captain. He's here in Texas. And he was one of the gold mine kids there at Laughlin. And he's the reason I went to Korea, because that idiot called me up one night. I should have known he was tore up. He's like, yeah, over here, it's great over here. And we talked a while, and that's part of the reason I went to Korea. And honestly, that's why I ended up staying in the military, because otherwise, after Laughlin, I may have gone to some random installation, and then I would have been on plan for 4 years. Like, I did what I needed to do. I paid it back, and I'm gone. So. Yeah. And he's just a good leader. He was savvy. So, Doug and we're still friends to this day because, his leadership. Jeff Perham was there too, another good kind of solid leader that was great in the CE career field. Wanda Lynch was there too, Wanda Broussard now. And she's over at PACAF, I want to say. But that whole gold mine group was formative to me. When I went over to Korea, he's passed now, but Jack Rolfe, he was one of those crusty old kind of Northeast guys that still smoked those unfiltered Pall Malls. And I remember he'd flick them out the window in the winter, because then you could still smoke in the building back in the day. And I remember the CE colonel would come out of his office and come around the corner, and it's like, what the? Because you'd see after the snow melts, it just looked like a cigarette farm. It looked like cigarettes were growing everywhere, because they would just pop in, and then they're just all sitting there. And there was hundreds of them. And the boss was like, ah. But he gave me a lot of latitude and a lot of, opportunity. I was doing environmental then, which is what I wanted to do. In Korea back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of that going on. There was a program, but he let me kind of spread my wings and kind of shape that. And we got along really, even though he was a feisty old cuss, it was a good mix for us. Yeah. So I really dig him. And June Bug was his wife, and she was a sweetheart for sure. Mark McBurnett, when I got to Shepherd, he's a really, really good dude. There's a reason he was like the BCE for a long time, and then they started putting recently military back in there. But just really good people. Him and Wayne Fowler at Shepherd are people, and then JW, Jason Warnick, who was an EOD guy. He's back in Florida now, but Jason Warnick is he's a crazy man. But I had some really good friends there that fellow captains and stuff that we worked well together and enjoyed it. I think when I go Shepherd, I think Pentagon I want to say too, because I do want to talk. Rita Maldonado, yes. There's folks that she could be a tough boss. She was very demanding, but that business was demanding. I had care for her and actually some love for her in the end, because I felt like we became friends and we could share a lot. She taught us so much of the money, of how to run operations. She could be tough. I'll admit that on some folks, there was an expectation level of excellence that just had to be met. But the margin of error in that business, you can't be wrong. You can't go into a room and try to justify a program and be wrong. You can't. You'll get shot, and then your credibility's shot. And she was very savvy at what's a good fight and what's not a fight to have. And so really, if you understand the whole kind of money concept, programming, budgeting, execution, which we did back in the day, you have insight. You can work with your comptroller friends. You can work with your programmer friends. You can work across, and you understand it. And then you can have an adult conversation on what priorities are and where money should go, could go. You know a lot, and I have a lot of respect for her for that. And so she's still one. Dell Yulberg, I would just say he did my retirement for a reason, because I asked him, but and he could have said no. But I'll tell you, CE's been blessed with a lot of great leaders. Dell Yulberg is cream of the crop. I just like him as a person. His leadership was incredible, and he was doing things, an evolution of where our CE kind of core business was going, and had to make some really tough decisions that were not popular in shaping our enterprise. And I knew what he was going through because we were there, but just tons of respect for him and what he did for us as Air Force civil engineers, and then just the person that's Dell. I mean, that dude is awesome. And so much respect for him. My Masawa team, I don't know if he's here. Joel Sanchez was a master sergeant then. And he was probably my confidant because I was going through a lot, trying to run a squadron. I came back. So he was a master sergeant at the time. I came back to the base, and then the war kicked off. And then it was indefinite. For everybody that was downrange deployed. So we were trying to keep the spouses informed. And it was that was a tough time because I was learning how to be a commander, and I wasn't a commander really. I mean, I was learning. And so people like Joel Sanchez, Tom Windover, who was the chief, Paul, who else? I had so many senior NCOs step up there that I was just blessed. That's when you realize if you have good senior NCOs in a unit that got your back, you're going to be in a really good place. Jay Bear, Chuck Semler was the man. He was my engineering flight chief. The dude was a weirdo though, because he had a paper sack that was probably 20 years old, and all he would do, he would just wrap more duct tape around it. And the first time I met him, he would doodle during staff meetings, and I remember it kind of irritated me. But I didn't say nothing to him. I just asked Danny, so a lot of respect for Danny too. Danny was a good deputy for me, hothead like me, so we got to be careful. But it's Chuck though. We brought in more money because that what was it ARRA.
American Recovery and whatever Act.
Yeah, we had a bunch of money come in from that. We did probably more O&M. I think we did probably 80 to 90 million of O&M projects that year. That's not the MILCON and everything else going on. He executed like a champ, but I remember asking somebody, I'm like, is that dude paying attention or what? Because he had these beautiful doodles. I was like, that's beautiful. I mean, I'd admire it. It's like, that's a whole lot of doodling while I'm talking. But yeah, some of the leadership would tell me, you know what, he's got it. I would say John Wild, Chief Wild, he came in there as my chief. He was a young chief. I was a young commander. I have tons of respect for him. He became, the CE chief there for a while. And he is one that you want to talk about a combat dining out. I mean, just everything we did, he had my back, and just a great, strong leader, and knew how to rally the troops, and I was just blessed to have a good chief and a good shirt. 2 good shirts while I was there. Jim and, God, I'm blanking on her name. She's going to kill me. I'll have to hit that on another time because I need
Yeah.
to. I'm blanking on her name. She was shirt of the year for the Air Force.
So just
Accentuate the positive, but I forget. I remember her tagline, but
for some of the folks who don't know what a shirt is, that's first sergeant.
Yeah,
right?
first
They're kind
sergeant.
of in charge of the morale and checking out after the troops, in your organization. So
yeah, if
Kind of a big
you're
advocate.
blessed to have the opportunity to command, that trifecta, if that's functioning well between the commander and the deputy, so the quad I'll call it, but the shirt and the chief, if that's a strong team and you understand each other, got each other's back, there's nothing better. Now I will say Jim, who was the second shirt when I was there, I love him to death. He's up in North Dakota with his bride and Seung, and his bride got along great. But he was like this jumpy dude, and I learned this quick. He was kind of skittish. I mean, I really good at what he did, but you could tell when somebody something will set him off. So what I was like, okay, I'm gonna exploit this. So I got an air horn, and I was like, fire in the hole, boop! And this dude, I swear to God, the first time I did, I thought I was gonna have to do CPR. But at least he learned. I gave him the warning, fire in the hole. But every time it went off, he's like, God damn it. Because he would come up out of his chair. But then I started doing it. I'd go down. There was an ops aisle and then an engineering aisle in our building back in the day. And I'd go down the hallway, fire in the hole. Boop! So people knew. That was just a way to get some stress out. Those air horns are loud inside a building, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So again, the shirt he was awesome. Jim was good. People.
Is there a project or kind of an initiative that you look back on that kind of stands out from all the work that you've done that you were glad that you were a part of?
Yeah, I think the I2S. I mean, for me, it's kind of what comes out. There's so many, though. I brought up the Milcon at Misawa. We actually, I know it's gone now, but we actually we had to create a planning team because we were doing in-house work. We did the DFAC, Joel Sanchez I talked about. We did a Mexican restaurant. We did like 3 big projects. Now the boss asked me, "Can you do it?" I'm like, "Dude, I got steel workers. I got Japanese craftsmen that are awesome. I had shop dudes that were just amazing." I'm like, "It's going to take us longer because I'm not an industry person on that job, and that's my only job." But we'd lay it out, and we did some amazing work there. So Misawa stands out as well. But the weather shelters, I have not seen a design build go that well, ever. Now, in industry, I've seen some go pretty well. But
Right.
just watching that happen and how a team can really deliver, evolve, make betterments, and actually come at a cost that's almost unfathomable and get everything that the customer wants. I mean, there were so many good things about that design build project at Milcon that it stands out. And it was the fight to get it too, because it was not pretty. When you fight for something and it turns out good, it sticks in your mind, and the team delivered. But I think the I2S, again, to me is, we had talked about and again, it's evolved since then, but we did not have a foundational strategy that the enterprise had ever signed up to say, yeah, you engineers are bitching, you need more money, you got, okay, boom, roll out Santa's list of projects, all those things that just never resonated.
Right.
We finally did something about it. And we were fortunate that who we had for IE and who we had in leadership, and even the secretary, backed us up.
Right.
Because they got it. All of the basic MAGCOM folks signed up. And so I was appreciative of Air Force leadership because for once we had an acknowledgement that we need a strategy. We have kind of problems and we need some outcomes. We got to go solutions based. And here's a way to go about that. I was really proud of that because I don't know, it's not easy to get all of those signatures on one document.
Yeah.
And people actually care about it. That's a big deal. And so, naming other names, Mark Vanderveer and Doug Hammer, those are 2 names too that were fundamental. Mark Vanderveer is just that forward thinker, only a gas pedal dude. I mean, there's no break with that dude. But I love him to death because his brain is always working. He's brilliant, and he will he will come to a solution. He won't stop.
Yeah.
He's relentless, and I love that about him, and just the energy that he brings to it. Plus, he brews good beer, or used to at least. And then Hammer is another brilliant guy that he guided that.
Right.
There's a lot that I saw. He got out of us what needed to be condensed and put together, which was the I2S, and then kind of the action plan that we did after, which was really the harder part. I mean, putting a 5-page pretty thing together that IE actually cleaned up. And I mean, some people did some really good work collectively to make that sing like it did. But then the follow-on piece, Doug Hammer was part and parcel to all of that and the success of that. So my hat's off to him too, because he facilitated multiple sessions. I mean, he was just going, and he took us. He has a way to navigate you to good solutions, good answers, good narrative. I mean, I just respect the hell out of what he did. So
yeah, I remember sitting in those, and he always asked the right question.
Yep.
Right? It's just kind of like, well, have you thought about? And you're like, no, and land at that. So I2S, for those who don't know, infrastructure investment strategy, and signed off by the chief and all the MAGCOM commanders, and that was and I think still remains, right, the roadmap for investing in facilities. We've and our installations. We've talked about how the installations are, Bo introduced it as the power projection platform, right? So, we think about the Air Force, they're all flying planes, but they need a place to generate, take off, land, and maintain. And so it's a lot of, it's a very complex organism when you begin to peel that back. So
and it has to function effectively. Airfield goes down, electrical goes down. There's so many things that can impact a mission. It needs to be working. And sometimes things are hunky dory. Other times, it's held together with Band-Aids. And engineers are like part and parcel to making sure it's operational all the time. So, and then I got to give a shout out to you. I mean, I know this is your show, but I'm gonna, because when it came time to do asset management, actually planning to start with, y'all may not understand what the Rolodex is, but if we have all these different criteria sometimes that we use for decisions. It could be a simple planning action, or it could be, hey, President Obama decided we're going to close Guantanamo Bay, and here's some basic criteria. Where can we put these people? That normally is an exercise where people send out questionnaires that can be completely biased. Somebody's like, I'll say anything they want, not necessarily Guantanamo Bay kind of people, but they want a mission there so bad they'll just check yes, and they'll say shit and give a cost that's just not right. Other times people are like, hell no, not on my yard. So they'll go no, when yes is like, okay, dude, you got that kind of real estate, you got the right kind of criteria. So this is a way with objective criteria, somewhat unbiased, to come up with what I'll call a straw man of solutions, at least in Dean's simple mind. And then you can go back to decision makers and say, okay, based on your criteria, here's 10 potential answers. Now you can go fight it out, or,
right.
In the Guantanamo Bay example, I just remember the funny part was there was like 3 or 4 global strike bases on there. It's like, okay, we'll put maybe some bad people on nuke bases. Probably not the right optic. Barksdale's looking good, but I don't think folks are going to dig that too much. So then you can go through the political and the other dynamics, but objectively, and oh, by the way, instead of 30, 45 days later, you're talking, I think in that case, we did it in a matter of like 4 to 5 days.
That's right. Yeah.
And that just opened my eyes, like, oh goodness. And that has grown since. I think it's Atlas, but you started that. I would say we evolved how we did kind of asset management, but not only our kind of methodology, but our investment strategy to a degree. And then I love the fact we were always thinking of ways, and folks in the field may or may not believe me, but I would tell our team all the time, remember why we exist. It is not a self-licking ice cream cone.
That's right.
We are here to do work for them. Now, there's sometimes the enterprise doesn't give you exactly what you want, so you can poke Dean in the eye. That's fine. But that was truly the mentality. So it was like, okay, those kind of our planning assist teams or planning teams, in any way that we could get out to the field and try to help. Now, you can only do so much with a small staff, not crying about it, but I'd love to go out and do 40 planning efforts. We couldn't. We were narrowed down to like 10, 12 or something. But all of those initiatives to say, how do we do outreach? Let's help the field. If not with capability, then with money, though. And so I felt like one of the other things that we did when you were there was we built a reasonable baseline budget.
Right.
We started with nothing. We had nothing. Yeah. When I got there, I was like, this is crazy, man. They want us to run this show. It's like, if we want to do these things, and we worked our way up to like, I don't know, 40, 50 million. And then Scott had, he was struggling, and I can't, I don't take all the credit per se, but the whole thing is like, we got all this, we're doing a bunch of talking. We need some money to do this shit.
Yeah.
And you help make that a reality too. So, and then when we did there, when you do, when you have org change, that is a tough animal, especially. So I felt like, we had a really good thing going on. I liked our structure. I liked what we were delivering. And then comes along Air Force IMC 2.0. And it's not a hate exercise, but it's tough to accept change, org change, when maybe you're not bought in. And I wasn't, I'll be honest with everybody, I wasn't bought into kind of the concept. Like AFCEC is only execution. It's like, we're not that at all. I mean, we're not executing. We're doing some planning and stuff, but really we're in execution. So the whole fundamental basis of it had me a little sideways. But working through that exercise, once the decision was made by leadership to make it work, that was hard for us because we had a good thing going, and we had to chop over a lot of capability and split some things up. And the leadership to be able to get through that, I think effectively,
yes,
is you were key to that too, because there was days when I was going to put my head through the wall, and it takes leadership to help other folks just
dial it back.
Dial it back. We'll work through this.
Yeah. Well, before I close this out, is there anything, kind of any closing comments or something you want to kind of share with folks?
I would just say I'm excited for the future. I see and I miss it. So first off, I'd say I miss it. I'm in industry now. I love my industry family, but there is, when you transition, there is a draw. There was something. There's days when I'm like, I still work decent hours, but there's days when I remember I was completely spent in the military. It's like I gave it everything I had. Yes. Maybe that wasn't enough, but I miss it because the mission, you can't replicate that. You can't, the why of what you do as a civil engineer, you can't quite replicate that. And like when you're a leader, especially proud papa, when your kids do well, when your squadron, your team, whatever you're running does well, and we do a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of room for like people not being happy with what we do, but we do well. We kick ass, really. And so I kind of miss that because you get a little bit proud and prideful that I'll step in front of any audience on this base and say, this is ours. We did this, and so I kind of miss that. I used to tell all of our teams, it's like, man, always remember, we run this show. Granted, there's key missions, and it's like, hey, you got F-22s, whatever's flying, but to make everything work, it's us.
It work.
It's us. So be proud of that. I don't care if you're going to fix a window or if you're going to change out an HVAC or we're building something. Just, it's us, baby. Resetting a barrier or EOD blowing something up. So, I mean, I miss that. But then I'd just say I'm excited for the future because I can see the evolution. You start to realize I'm more an analog dude getting old. And the technology, the advancements that airmen are using today, civil engineers, and how fast they're moving. I'm just excited about it. So I wish I was still a part of it, but I am in it to a degree. That's the other thing I like, is that I still feel connected. And if we deliver a building or a plan or anything, my heart's still in it because I know what that means for the Air Force. And so that has never left me, never will.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'll say this, and this isn't about me, but I look back at my career and I've been blessed with my bosses, So JB knows my first boss, Ron Green, and I can run the list. And then you were my last boss with the Air Force, my domestic
Save
partner.
the worst for
That's
last, right. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So that's another story. Just so y'all know, after we got a discount in Hawaii for a rental car.
Yeah.
That was still the oddest thing. Have you heard that? Okay, because
now let's go ahead and tell it. Yeah, we'll go ahead.
So I mean, Well, we did. It was a great trip too because we were doing like a PMR for PACAF. I respect Ian. Randy Brown was smart enough to say, let's get out to some of our big customers, Pacific, Europe, and do a PMR. Talk our programs, but then also get their feedback. And sometimes the feedback is not so rosy because they're like, you're not doing this for me. What about this? And that's important though. You need that. But we get to the airport. We're going to the rental car. This little kiosk thing. You know, I'm punching stuff in. The first question, so it said, hey, is there another driver? Yes. And I think I put your stuff in there. Yep. The first question after that, is this a domestic partner? I'm like, what the hell kind of question is this? I turned to the gal. I was like, do we get a discount? Yes. Yes.
So, and the domestic partnership was born.
Yeah, right? The domestic I was like, what kind of question is this? But do we get a discount? Yep. Well, and then he burnt the bridge. He blew me off after that, man, butthead.
Well, you did the island hopping, and I went back, and I don't know who told the office. But when I came back, you know, I opened the door to, you know, because we had that outside door before we got to our offices, and there's this poster, you and me hanging out of the back of a truck, like waving. You remember that? Yeah. Domestic partners, domestic bliss.
Domestic bliss.
And you know the wizard was behind it.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. So can I tell the one wizard story?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Gary Zetterson, Gary, if you're out there listening, the wizard. So, you know, he was contract support. And our admin support, she got married and left, and we didn't have that position for a while. And Gary was like, hey, you know, I'll help out. And Gary's a great guy. But he had one of his team members leave. And this is my favorite Gary story. So he had a farewell for him, but what he didn't know, I guess, is that guy was pretty salty or something. And he's basically like, you stink, and you stink, and you stink, you know. Yeah. And Gary was hot. You know, and you and I were talking in the office, and you remember he came in, I'm so angry.
That's it. I'm pissed.
Whatever. And he tried to slam the door, but it had a closer on it.
You can't slam the door.
And like, I remember the first time, like.
Yeah, I looked at him like,
what?
Is this a joke or has he lost his shit? I didn't even know what the hell was going on. It was like, he's like trying to slam the door. He's all like freaked out. I thought it was I'm like, all right, who's gaming me now? Because there was so much games going on in there. But he was really pissed. And then we started laughing. It's like, what the fuck? He's like, tried to slam us.
Tried to slam it again, and it didn't. And then there's nothing you can do but laugh. Right? You know, there's nothing you can do but laugh at that.
And Gary, the wizard.
That was a good time. It's hard to say you have a favorite, but that was my favorite job, my favorite kind of stop. And one of the themes is, we talk about we work hard, we play hard.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had a team that worked harder, and I don't think we played harder either.
That team worked. That a lot of kind of. I just like the forward thinking, the opportunity generation, moving out on stuff. We didn't have to ask permission. We would just do stuff. Yeah. Now, we smart enough to go brief like Pentagon. So they're as excited as we are, and they were like, oh shit, you guys are doing all this. But I credit Randy Brown because. I'd let him know some of the stuff we were doing, but he was just like, go. So, and to this day, I mean, I love the hell out of that because he gave us the room to just test and produce. And I appreciate you too, because the East-West divide between AvKec, for some period wasn't always just a smooth sailing like everybody communicates well. Folks had some silos, and that's kind of, P&I was a silo kind of infiltrator breaker to a degree. We had to work with everybody else. It was designed to be that way. And some of them, it's a little more of a communication game to be able to do that. But I think with COA and some others, I thought we had a good thing going there too, because it started to run well, and talented people over at Tyndall for sure. But it took some effort to. We've got a process here, y'all. Yeah. Where we all got parts of it. Let's smooth this puppy out.
I always said we were kind of in a three-way marriage, right? So you had the folks down at Tyndall, and they were out doing the reach and teach.
Now let's talk about Red Dot.
Oh yeah, we're out doing the reach and teach and facility condition assessments and maintaining the SMS system. Yeah. But then we also had Steggy Baby, down there running the kind of the checkbook in his office, making sure funds got distributed where they needed to, and we were in the middle building programs. And so you couldn't do it alone, right? So that was a real integrated.
Those summits were good.
Yeah,
we had
absolutely.
summits to kind of level. I mean, using J.J. Allen's terms, level the bubbles where, and if there was friction, people could talk about them there because there was always some measure of friction, especially with process evolution as we change stuff. But I thought those were good. Those started to make hay when you were having those summits. And then there's Red Dot.
I was going to say, so we did eventually get an admin support. This is a shout out to Tabitha.
Miss Tabitha's awesome.
Miss Tabitha's
she knows I love her to death. But anybody, now I guess
but here it comes.
Yeah, anybody that throws like hard objects at you, it's like, and I think I probably heard. Now I probably earned it, but I'd probably say at least 5 to 6 times a day, I'm gonna smack you.
Smack you.
I'm gonna smack you.
Smack you. Yeah.
But actually, I remember we were blessed to have her on the team.
Absolutely.
When she was running TMT, thankless ass job, running it for the AFKIC Enterprise as a contractor. I remember she'd come around. She was trying to do due diligence, keep things on track, keep people accountable. And I just recognized that, even though it's thankless because you're like, I got a lot of things going on. The last thing I need is being nagged about a TMT tasker, which there's people just love to proliferate that shit. Oh, put it in a TMT. You know what? I'm going to kill you. But I recognized it then, and we were lucky to have her on the team because she ran a really good show, and she knew TMT, and she knew everybody in the organization. She knew, that little group, her, Miss Gay, a couple of the others, that was a little bit of intel, a strong intel network. But then, I mean, she ran a good operation there. We teased because we had this training for Red Dot is like, hey, you got this area of like, there's drama, this person. So we called her that. But really, really nothing but love for my sister because other than I told her she gave up love for money. So love was the CP side and then money was the CZ side. So, but she earned a a good promotion, well-deserved promotion, and she was rightfully moved on over to it. But I'll admit it, I was hurt a little bit just because I didn't want her to go.
Yeah. My one Tabitha story, like she'd get cold, and she'd have a little. You're supposed to have space heaters now. This little heater down there under the desk, and she'd kick her shoes off.
Oh, and them dogs
you'd walk in, you'd be like,
yeah.
And of course, her feet did not stink. Like, but you can't not let her think that. It's like, do you smell something? It's like, I think someone's cooking dogs.
Yeah.
And
them dogs barking.
Dogs are cooking.
She'd come up out of there.
I do not. Yeah,
that's it. Then you start talking about toenails and stuff. You start getting into some of the things that would incite it. Like, damn, look at them snaggly things down there. Somebody ought to clean that up.
Good
time. Need a hedge trimmer. And then you created Red Dot Bingo. That was pretty good, actually.
Bingo. Yeah.
So all of these little phraseologies that she would use on us. See how long it took to get a bingo.
Yeah.
Some days didn't take too long.
But that was that was a, I had a blessed career, 2 good stops because I think I've told you when I was in USAFE, I worked with, Wade Lawrence, Laura Johnson, Mark Vanderveer. They were captains at the time.
You had that place was stacked with a lot of talent.
Chuck Kelm, Eric Turner.
Jesus.
I mean, it just goes on. And there's a lot of people I'm forgetting. Brian Lee was there and Jim Fitzpatrick. They were the NATO programmers. Gino, the Godfather, Gino was there.
Gino.
And so when I look, it's kind of like, but I think I have to tilt to CPA, and the CP folks, just because, there we were doing warfighting stuff. Like it was really good. That's where I met Scott Ensign, but I think, just when it comes to just innovation and I don't know, you just wound them up and turned them loose, and it was just a great team.
And it was impactful because actually we had reasonable top line budgets. We were getting a lot of work done. We had that ERR process where we could fix things that were broke that really needed it. And bless Tricky D, he's out there somewhere with his fly dope and his Japanese love elixir. Yes. That's a whole nother episode. But bless his heart, because he would play good traffic cop. But there was times when we had a way to get things done. But we had enough top line back in the day to get a lot done. And when you cut that in half, it causes so much more drama. I know, by the way, cut Milcon down too. So a lot of the programs, the I2S got us additional money and a good top line for a while, but then other risks came in and the portfolio started getting schwacked, that's when it's tough. But we were impactful, and I felt like our outreach efforts, and I know they're probably still doing kind of those asset management visits, some asset management team, AMT, or whatever they're calling them now. But the planning team, just sending out teams, having a way to figure out, okay, where are some areas that we can really help the bases with the bandwidth that we have. We were doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, people were learning along the way too, because we had folks that were good at it, but they hadn't done they needed more hands-on.
Well, and just when you say that, I think of Karen, right?
Yeah.
So took someone out of environmental, made her the pavement, the Air Force transportation, airfield payments, ANT manager, and she was good at it. I mean, so you look at Mike Zapata, he's just 15 now. Mike, Jesse, Karen, we had Rainey, we had Rod Villegas. Rod's he's 15 at the air staff.
Godfather.
Yeah, he's out. I don't know what he's doing,
somewhere.
but he won't tell you about it. Now, Josh, Josh Graham was our dorm sub-ANT manager, and then the military. I mean, we had really good military that rotated through there. Because
I was fortunate to be able. I couldn't handpick all, but the good news was when that list came out, I was working to handpick, and AFCEC was getting a lot of good talent. Don't get me wrong, but there's people that you see that you wanted to be on the team, and we got treated pretty well in that process of who we could bring in there. Because they were going to learn some pretty important skills as far as requirement development, build, program, how the machine works.
That's right.
When you know that, you're powerful when you go back out, because you know what somebody's asking for something crazy. You're like, okay, here's how we got to go about this. But then there's other ways, like, hey, I know an in on this. There's a thing called an ERR, and I know how to make that effective. So. But those were all like Murley. I think Murley just retired. Murley.
Yep.
Although that cat's he goes down in infamy for drinking the last beer that one day. There's days when you have a rough day and the fridge should not be empty. And if it is empty, it should have been empty, and I should not see who has the last beer. But Murley was sitting there grinning like a Cheshire cat. He'd grabbed the last beer out of there. It was one of those days where it's like my fridge was empty, so I went out to where Bondo and him were. And I'm like, I know there's beer in this fridge. So I go in there and I open it. I'm like, oh, shit, man. And I just see him sitting there with legs up, grinning like a Cheshire cat, like Marley.
Jason, Nichols, Deering, Renero. There's too many to name. Brian Strickland.
Yep.
Scott Berrien. The hits just kept coming in a good way. Just every time you turned around, we were stacked. We were stacked deep. I don't know about Deering, though. He liked Zima a little too much, man. Zima, yeah.
And then there's T-Nuts.
Oh, Caldwell. Well, he bailed on us, too.
Yeah,
he had to get home.
Pretty boy.
He had to get home. He was really good at getting us money,
That's true.
He put on his skinny jeans.
Send him across the hall.
Yep.
Go on, do your thing, boy.
Go do your thing. Well, I thank you for sitting down with me. This has been fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, and you kept it mostly PG-13, which is good.
I think because I tried. I have to click the little button over to say
slow down.
To not curse.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that we'll have other opportunities as well to do this again. But for now, I just want to thank you for coming in.
You bet, brother.
I love you, brother. Good times.
All right. JB over there too, man. I'm a man.
Yeah. So the living
Mr.
laugh
UMMC,
track.
it's like, when are you going to get this list ready? Why can't you execute this shit? And what's going on here, man? 3 years behind the power curve. You got Milcon that everybody wants to treat like a little mini project, and then it blows up. So
that's right.
Enjoyed working with you as well, my brother.
All right, everybody. Take care.
See you.
And that's it. Hey, Robert Rushing here, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce Bo Bloomer. He's with the Checkmate Realty Group, and let Bo tell you a little bit about what it is he does.
So we're super excited to be able to continue to help folks. I'm retired Air Force, and you talk about your service, and one of the things that we do now is that we're able to continue our service by helping folks find homes, find a house that their family can make a home. We're here across all of DC, Virginia, and Maryland. And what's great is that individuals moving in from all the different locations, as well as people here that might be downsizing or even maybe looking for an investment, something like that. We're kind of all your real estate needs, your one-stop shop. So looking forward to help out individuals. One of the things that we often will talk about is that if individuals have not moved in the area yet, we can help you out by being your boots on the ground and walk through and do FaceTime videos or any kind of thing like that, so that you can see a home if you're interested in that. Other than that, we are also super adept at picking up folks at the airport if you're coming out for a house hunting trip. Matter of fact, I've got one tomorrow with an individual coming out from Arizona. Pick you up at the airport, drive you around. You can look at different areas. We can give you a different sense of like this little town or that little town, so that you can really find a place you fall in love with and that your family's going to have a wonderful place to make a home.
All right. And as a customer, I can say this. When we moved to the NCR, it was a change of agency for me. The family was stressing, in the middle of the pandemic. And one thing we didn't have to worry about the house because we knew that you were going to take care of us. And so, Bo, I thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Robert. It was an absolute pleasure working with you, and being able to help out folks is the top of our game. We love doing that.
All right. Hey, Robert here, old government guy, and I'm sitting down today with Mr. Ed Bakunas. Ed, working for the government, we've talked before about rules and regulations, but sometimes you just have to scratch your head and I have a thing I say, you just can't make this stuff up,
No.
And I understand that you have a story you want to share with us.
I was working with the Navy at that time, and I had a project down in Panama in the Canal Zone.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm down there, and I'm staying at one of the hotels in the capital city there. And I'm going between there and Cologne, which is on the other side of the area there that you have to kind of traverse. So coming back from Cologne, I'm driving back and I see a military or a cop or something over the side. And I flash my lights saying, the oncoming car, be careful, there's somebody there. And the next thing I know, I'm being pulled over. And here's this guy with a high brim hat, carbine on his shoulder there. And I said, oh, crap. What the hell did I... it's customary, if you see somebody that has a radar set up so that you get stopped, that, let them know that, slow down, don't go so fast. And so, I get pulled over. He doesn't speak English. I don't speak any Spanish. We just kind of look at each other and sort of more or less, I think he recognized that I'm not accustomed to this down here. And so I guess just by his look, I says, okay, I won't ever do it again. This is the end of it, But it was one of those things that scared the crap out of me a little bit because all of a sudden, this was during the time when Noriega, I guess, was still in charge.
Some tension.
Some of those tensions down there. And it's like, well, I learned my lesson. This is something that you don't do when you kind of go to another country because you don't know what their customs are or what happens when you flash your lights, those type of things. But that's the one story that I kind of recall from, having my experience working down there in a country that totally different from what we were accustomed to.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Because that's the other thing. Like, you do a lot of traveling, and to your point, you don't know where you're going.
No.
You don't know what the norms are.
No. I mean, and again, I was over in Ramstein, and we were taking a trip down to Baden-Baden. And I think the one thing that, it's not a funny story, but, we got pulled over off the Autobahn one time, and this had to do with the situation where the terrorist Bader-Meinhof gang down there. I don't know if you recall that, but there were a lot of things that were happening, and Ramstein was a situation where a lot of security because things were happening where they were taking it out on anybody that was military. And if you recall, we had the green tags on our plates that kind of identified as USA.
US,
yeah. So I mean, and we got pulled off, just to kind of let us know that hey, just checking things out here, making sure that there's nothing going on here that's related to that issue. But those are just some of the things. You get accustomed when you're overseas to do a lot of things differently than what you do in the States, and you just have to kind of work through some of those things.
Were you there when they bombed
No, I left before that time,
Okay.
but I mean, we had a lot of
But
security
to your
there.
point, yeah, that was a target.
No.
You just had targets on you.
Yeah, I mean, they knew who you
Yeah.
were, just by your license plate. But no, we never had any problems there, but there were a lot of situations where you had to kind of stay alert,
Yeah.
and you kind of had to follow the rules and recognize that, you're in a situation where you're a visitor to their country and basically follow their rules. That's right.
All right, Ed, I appreciate you
Oh,
sitting
you're
down with us
welcome.
today. Thanks
No,
for
this
taking the time.
was fun. I enjoyed this. A great chance to kind of have flashbacks, and be able to kind of recall,
Flashbacks.
recall certain things in your life that
Yeah.
you didn't think of before until you got talking about them. So this is great. Appreciate it, Robert.
All right, thanks, Ed.
Okay, you're welcome.
Take care. And there you have it. We just wrapped up another episode of The Old Government Guys, a Rapid Point studio production. We're always on the lookout for new folks to highlight, so if you know someone who deserves to be recognized, let us know. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out and send us a note at ogg@rapidpointstudio.com.
Old Government Guy Robert here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. It's our goal to be your third favorite podcast, so keep the suggestions coming in as we work to mature our platform. And once again, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Robert here. If you find yourself traveling down I-40 in eastern Oklahoma and you need a quiet place for the night, stop in and see my friends Kelly and Jody at Ambassador's Inn and RV Park, where they aim to provide you three things: a clean room, your restful night's sleep, and probably a wacky story, because Kelly is full of them. But don't, and I repeat, do not let him tell you a joke. He's terrible at jokes. Kelly and Jody aim to provide a clean, quiet, uneventful stay. Ambassador's Inn and RV Park is an American-owned and operated small business where your peace and comfort are their top priority. You'll find Ambassador's Inn and RV Park at exit 278, where a safe and homely atmosphere awaits. Be sure and tell them the Old Government Guy sent you. For more information, you can find Ambassador's Inn and RV on Facebook or give them a call at 918-463-3727.